All right, so let's get into chapter 11. Um, this one, again, it's starting with the same continuity, which is great, straightforward. The last one ended, chapter 10 ended with a flash with Jinwoo having the game notification popping up in his vision, which kind of was something that we hadn't seen before. So here we are starting in chapter 11. There's a flash. Jinwoo wakes up and he's in a hospital bed. Um, so he wakes up, and the first thing he does is he grabs his chest, realizes that there's not like a giant gaping hole where where he was stabbed before. Um, and he thinks that it was all just a dream, but right when he is looking out the window, like taking everything in, two suits walk in, two people, and they tell him that he was asleep for 3 days. They say, "Oh, finally awake." So he was asleep for 3 days when he was, I guess, while he was recovering. And so he is introduced to them, and they say that they are the Korean Hunter Guild inspectors. So they I guess that they're probably inspecting the Korean Hunter Guild, which makes sense. The name. Um, yeah, I wonder what they're doing here. It's kind of interesting. So he asks what happened to Juhei and Mr. Song, because if you don't remember, they in the last chapter they had decided to leave because that's what Jinwoo wanted. He wanted them to get out safely. So he asks how they're doing, and so it looks like Mr. Song he still lost his arm. He lost his left arm, and it didn't recover, which is I didn't I don't know if what that really means if he will ever get it back because it looks like Jinwoo had gotten his wounds healed, all of them, because he also has his leg back too. But yeah, so Mr. Song lost an arm. He might have to retire because he can't do much. And then Juhei is apparently under duress right now. She is having like some trauma issues from the whole experience, and which totally makes sense. I mean, kind of sucked what happened, but I mean, you're a hunter, so so yeah, they say that they don't know if they're going to still remain hunters after this experience. And then they say if he wants to know about Kim, which is the other guy who kind of left him, and he had that dialogue, the red words, um, where he was saying like, if you leave here, you're not saving us, you're making us die. And he says, "Do you want to know about him?" And Jinwoo just responds, "No." So he doesn't want to know anything. He remembers. Um, so at this point, they're just giving him a briefing of the dungeon that they were in. Only 6 people lived. I want to say that in it there was somewhere between 16 to 20 within that range. Um, so yeah, going down to 6, it is a massacre, and that's what they're saying. Like this is a rare occurrence. Usually things along at like this crazy wouldn't happen. So the maybe that's why the inspectors were there. And it kind of goes through a flashback of them checking the dungeon. And when they get in there, they notice that there's no statues. The only thing that's left in the cave or where the cave was is Jinwoo on the altar, and he looks like he is donezo. He is dead. So yeah, he is the only thing. The altar, all the statues are gone. Even the giant one is completely gone. I hope to see them later. Like how much more insane can they be? Um, yeah, they have to come back. Really, really cool stuff. I'd love to see what their return is. Um, and right now, Jinwoo's just sort of in a panic mode. Like, what's going on? There were an insane amount of statues there. There was an entire room. Like, that's insane. And even the inspectors are like, yeah, we know. We wouldn't have believed it either if everyone else who had lived didn't give their sort of perspectives on what happened. And they found out that it all aligned. So how can you deny that? Um, and yeah, the inspectors think that for Jinwoo, he had a thing called a double awakening. So it's basically him where he it's kind of like a power up that they get. So originally hunters when they first I guess join the hunter guild, they have a single awakening. Um, and that is basically like set once it happens. So once it happens, they'll either be in uh, C class, they'll be in a B class, they'll be in an A class, S class. But if they have this thing called a double awakening, then it can bring them from whatever class they're in. Like for instance, if they were in a C class, they can get bumped up to an A class, or if they're in a B class, they can get bumped up to an S class. So it's like a pretty substantial power boost, seems like. Um, and even the inspectors are sort of thinking that the the power of the statue was so immense that there's no way someone with regular abilities would have been able to take that. They said that it was a death level monster, which that just sounds very intimidating. I I'd like to see some more of those. But apparently A rank and S ranks can take those levels. That's uh that's pretty much like they're equal. I think yeah, S would be just an insane level, completely insane, like just dwarfing everything. I don't even know if the last one was S class. I'd like to know. But yeah, they bring out this magic detector, which gives us an idea of the level of whoever's touching it. It's like a crystal ball. You just put your hand on top of it, and it'll read you what your level is. And the inspector's saying like, there's no way that this guy could have done this with just his power. He had to have had this double awakening. Jinwoo definitely had a double awakening, but once they check the reader and do the power test, what comes back is power level of 10, which we don't really get like a scale on what the power level is. We sort of do. They say that an E rank would be at least level 70. So I guess going off that, maybe an A rank would be somewhere in like 300, and then S rank would be like 500 possibly. If I imagine, I can't imagine that it's just like 70, 70, 70, 70 across the board. I think the S rank would be like an exponentially stronger than the E rank. So yeah, they do the reader, it comes back as 10, and they're just like, wow, this guy's a total loser. We're leaving. Um, but what they don't realize is that Jinwoo has this screen in front of his face, so it's like the game notification thing's coming back. And what it says is that he has some unread mail, and he also says, could it be that they can't read it? So is it possible that they maybe can't see the board? And that's exactly what's happening. Um, because after this, his sister walks in, while he's like trying to mess with this like virtual screen. It's like a virtual reality, I would say, or maybe augmented reality, AR. Yeah, it'd be AR because it's in the same reality as us. And yeah, it just looks like he's like playing with the air. So she walks in and kind of just freaking out, yelling at him, saying what's going on. And he's thinking, "Oh yeah, I have a sister. Like I couldn't have like got taken out by the statue because I have my sister here." So I can tell that they have a nice relationship, it seems like. And so he's kind of getting more personal with her. He's saying, like, can you see this? Can you see this board that's in front of my face? This augmented reality board. And he's asking for advice. He's like trying to go through the notifications. It says like he has one message. He just doesn't know how to go through it. So he's asking her, like, what would you do? Um, and he finally learns how to get in it, and what pops up is a message saying, "Welcome, player. Preparing. You have a new quest, which is called Preparing to Become Strong." And then he clicks on it, and what he finds is that the the goal of the becoming strong um, quest is basically you have to do 100 push-ups, 100 curl-ups, 100 more curl-ups, some squats, and also some running. So it's all 100, and then you have 10-kilometer run. It's kind of like a similar to the One Punch Man training regimen that Saitama followed when he was going through his initial training arc. Um, and then he also has some other notifications that popped up as well. So there's like a system, like maybe a game mechanic system that's supposed to help with growth. Um, and and there's also the rewards that he has to follow. So if he doesn't follow, it says that there's a penalty. Um, and then he's also got some rewards, but he doesn't know how to check him yet. So he has gone through it. Um, he is mainly interested in the becoming strong quest, but because the list is like, the 100 push-ups, curl-ups, the running, he doesn't want to do it. And plus he was in a hospital bed, so he decides to just do some sleeping instead. Um, you know, priorities, right? And after a little bit, it's kind of getting darker, and then the screen shows a timer, and this timer changes from green to yellow and finally to red. And then an alarm pops up, like it's kind of like a phone alarm, I imagine. I think this augmented reality screen can make noises because yeah, the alarm pops up and he automatically is like waking up from his sleep. And uh, it's a warning about his penalty, saying that he's going to get sent to the penalty zone now because he didn't do his quest, the one to become stronger, his training arc. He didn't do it. Mm-mm-mm. So yeah, the penalty notification screen pops up. There, an earthquake begins, and well, what he thinks is an earthquake. And as the shaking kind of starts, he is grabbing onto his bed, and his bed turns into sand, and he is teleported to a desert. Um, and it looks like this desert is on a different planet because a giant worm pops up behind him, big worm, and it kind of looks like Elder Centipede from One Punch Man. It's called the Poison Fang Giant Sand Centipede. And it pops up behind him, and then the quest directions pop up as well, saying that he has to survive until the time runs out, and the time says 4 hours. 4 hours is a long time. Like that's like just like nonstop running for 4 hours or something. Insane. So he has to survive against this desert worm for 4 hours. And he looks completely befuddled, not knowing what's going on. And that's how the chapter ends. Um, so kind of crazy turns on this one. He got teleported. He has a sister. I wonder, um, I wondered if she's a hunter as well. Yeah. So I thought it was a good end. I thought it was a interesting, like what kind of like a cliffhanger there. That training regimen sort of seems like a lot. 100 push-ups, 100 curl-ups, 10-kilometer run. Yeah, that's some heavy pushing. Um, but I think you'll be able to do it. I'm interested in the next chapter. All right, thanks. Leave a like, guys.